You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
Hey everybody, it's Jamie Migdal, and I am your host of Pets Mean Business here on Pet Life Radio Network, and I'm happy to be back. Hope that you have been enjoying our show. We have had tons and tons of cool, awesome, smart, bold, killer guests, because the pet industry has a lot to offer, a lot more than treats and food and combs and brushes and dog walks. It has all of these people that are behind all of those things, that are very cool people who are doing very cool things. And Pets Mean Business is a way for us to connect the dots between the stuff that people as pet owners think about and know about to the people who are making all of those things happen. The pet industry is growing and growing and growing. It's just huge. We're hitting 60 billion. I think it's going to go, I've heard some rumblings about 70 billion. Regardless, it's big. It's big and it's newish, right? It's kind of a new industry. We've only really been hitting our stride, I'd say, for the last decade or so. Prior to the last decade, it was really kind of fringy, terribly fragmented. That fragmentation is changing. People are connecting more. Obviously, there's a lack of fragmentation in many industries due to the interwebs. But the pet industry, I think in particular, because it's people working with pets, and if you don't have pets, you can't really connect to that concept. And so it becomes even more fragmented and more fringy. But because of all of the things that are happening in the world and people coming together in more significant ways, the pet industry is becoming and being taken more seriously as of late. And again, that's why we're here on Pets Mean Business, so we can learn about, why all that stuff is happening and how cool it all is. So I've had great guests. Today's no different. I have a great guest. In fact, today is our first international guest. I think it is. I believe it's our first international guest. Not just international, we're talking other side of the world as an international. I have a New Zealander coming to us today. So let me tell you about my guest, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and meet her, because she's awesome. Her name is Fiona Robertson, which, by the way, is just a cool, sexy New Zealand kind of name. Fiona Robertson. I can't wait to hear her accent. She is a New Zealander, and she's also an entrepreneur, and she is the founder of Newflands. It's a pet supplement company. And what she does is she specializes in all natural, ethically sourced, and ethically produced products. And, as with so many of our pet industry entrepreneurs that we meet and that we know on this show, her journey began as a quest to mitigate a medical problem and increase the quality of life for her own dog, whose name is Rosie, who's a Newfoundland. Get it? Newflands, Newfoundland. She'll tell you all about it. So after she was trying so hard to help her own dog and searching for the right supplement, there was none. So she, being an entrepreneur at heart, which again is what most people find when they finally stumble upon that passion project, that she is being an entrepreneur of her own. She manufactured her own product, and Newflands was born. So today, Fiona will be joining us from the North Island of New Zealand, just south of Auckland, and it's going to be great. So after these bold and smart messages from our sponsor, we'll come back and just listen to Fiona talk, because, she's from New Zealand, and that's just a cool accent. So we'll be right back, everybody.
At Red Barn, our pet food ingredients work overtime. They aren't just there for show. Dandelion greens work to maintain a healthy digestive system. Salmon oil works to enhance the immune system. Green-lipped mussels work to support joint health. These hard-working ingredients support your dog's active, healthy life. Look at the label. We want you to. Red Barn Naturals Pet Food. Simply the best. Find it in your local pet specialty store. Try our grain-free stews. The only pet food with Red Barn bully sticks.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
All right, we're back, and we have Fiona is here, and I'm so excited. Fiona, I already talked all about how awesome you are, because you live in New Zealand and you're a Newfoundland person and you're an entrepreneur and you're taking your time out of your busy day to come and hang out here and talk about pets and business and entrepreneurship and stuff. So welcome to Pets Mean Business.
Oh, thank you so much, Jamie. I feel so humbled. What an awesome introduction. That's just, blown my mind. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Are you kidding? You are, you're the kind of person that people want to be, I feel like. I know that sounds like a funny thing to say, but when you think about people who are passionate about pets or wanting to make a big life change or wanting to make an impact or any of those or those three things put together, people don't recognize or people don't realize, I think, that it's totally attainable. It's a totally attainable goal to have a vision, have a passion, and just be bold and do it. And I think that, from what I understand about your background, and obviously I want to learn a lot more about it, that's really what you've done. How do you, when you think about yourself and you think about that you are who you are, you're doing what you're doing, do you have to pinch yourself, or do you feel like you're in this, or do you feel like this is how it was supposed to be?
I don't know that I feel either of those. I sit there and I look at other people and I think, am I doing enough? Am I trying hard enough? Am I doing the best I can be doing for my animals and for other people's animals? So, yeah, it's a bit hard to sort of work out which one I fit into. I think it's more a case of I come from a point of view where it's like, what can I do better? How can I do it better? Thinking about that rather than looking back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I think that that's how passionate entrepreneurs do approach the world. Am I doing the best I can do? Can tomorrow be better than it was today? But I mean, at the end of the day, you must hear stories, right? You must hear stories from people who your product has helped. Dogs, of course, from the people who own the dogs of the products that have helped them. In those moments, what is your takeaway? How do you feel when you hear a story, when you hear someone endorse your product, when you hear a personal anecdote? What emotions come up then?
I'm just so thrilled and happy that the animal has had a better quality of life. I'm thrilled that the owner's chosen our products and they've worked and they've, people have actually found out, yes, they do what they say they do. And it's a real warm, fuzzy feeling inside. And it just makes you feel really humbled at the same time. It's just great. It's a really cool feeling, and it really makes all the hard work you put into in the background that people aren't aware of worthwhile. Yeah, really.
So you just started doing this in 2010, correct?
Yeah, we just registered the company in 2010. Yes, definitely.
And will you talk about that? Will you talk about what happened the day before? So I know that May 12th was a day that your dog was diagnosed with dilated cardiomyopathy. Yeah. Talk about that day and then how you knew that this was going to be the next stage of your life in terms of creating a product and becoming an entrepreneur. What was the moment between May 12th and the day that the product came on the market? What was that moment that you knew that this was going to be the reality?
Believe it or not, it wasn't the day that Rosie was diagnosed with DCM. The day Rosie was diagnosed with DCM, I was just like, okay, suck it up. You've got a disease here, it's terminal now. The next step is to look at how you can do the best quality of life for her. So out of my mouth, right into my specialist's face was, what can I give her to help her quality of life? And he said, just give her fish oil. So that's when I went looking for a New Zealand fish oil. And it took a couple of months to really source what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. And it was more of a process. There wasn't a big aha moment. It was, I got the oil, I tried it on her. I had some neighbours down the road and they had a dog that was a bit sore, and I'd read quite a lot more research papers that had been put out by universities at this stage to see, what fish oil benefits would be effective. So I started giving some of the trial samples out that we had away, and from there it just developed. And then someone said to me, you can't give me this for free. I've got to give you something for this. And I was just, okay then. And from there it just sort of started. And then I went to an event and a guy said, you can't be doing this. You need to register a company. You need to get yourself, properly sorted out. It's not that hard. So it just...
So you were forced to become an entrepreneur. People were pushing money at you. That's what I'm hearing.
They weren't pushing money.
Is that what happened?
At the time I was still teaching, and I do still teach now that I've gone and got all the excess baggage that comes with business, all the stuff you have to go through with the accounting side of things, and the exporting of product and the making of product in properly manufactured premises and so forth. The whole thing just, it's like a snowball effect. It started like a tiny dot with an idea in it, and I was in a teaching job I knew was ending, and the lady said to me, what are you going to do next year? And I just blurted out of my mouth, I'm going to sell my fish oil. It was all in that sort of same time period, knowing what, it sort of just went from a dot to a small dot, and then once you've said something out loud, you've sort of got to make it happen, because otherwise you don't look like you're, genuine or...
So what I'm hearing you talk about when people were asking what you're doing with your product and you were kind of trying to formulate things, and then as you described, it started out as this small dot and you and it was snowballing, that you were feeling, I'm going to put the word in your mouth, you didn't say this word, I'm going to say this word for you, that you were feeling challenged by the appearance of the authenticity behind your becoming this entrepreneur and developing your product. So am I right about that? Am I on target at all?
Definitely. When I look back now, definitely. At the time, I didn't realise it as that. But now looking back from the huge amount of growth I've done in the last 5 years, definitely that would be a perfect way to sum it up.
Growth as a person or growth as a company, or both?
Oh, both. We're not a huge company yet. We've still got a long way to go. But as a person, the amount of learning I've done in the last 5 years, and the fact that I've been able to, in some cases, pass that learning on to other people to help them grow in their business as well, it's been just, incredible. Really incredible. It's not something you could just walk into a university and write a course on and have it done, in 4 or 5 years. This sort of growth doesn't come from that situation because there's a lot more to it. It's about, relationships with people. It's about dealing with other larger structured companies, learning how they work, also learning about how to source product ingredients, how to source packaging, all the regulations that are involved with New Zealand. With New Zealand, when you export, there's a lot of regulations you've got to go through before the product can leave the country, which is why we've got a lot of people overseas are wanting our product because they know that we're very, very stringent about controlling the way our product is handled and what's done with our product and how carefully we are with our products.
Will you talk about your product? I mean, I know we've been talking about your product from a kind of more of the word, we've been talking about it as in quotes as the product, not abstractly. That's what I'm looking for. We've been talking about it in abstract form. No, it's good. And I think that, obviously I think that for our time together, what is of most interest to me and what I would say is probably most interest to folks who are listening is hearing about you, the person, your product. I think it's important to get some groundwork in so we understand what the product is, but we will get people to the website and we'll get people access to the information. So you're the reason that we're here, you. But I do want you to talk a little bit and tell me a little bit about what the product is and who's your target audience or who's your target customer.
So our product is sustainable Hoki oil, which is a fish that is off the coast of New Zealand. Now it's well controlled because it's quota driven by the government, but a lot of it is harvested under Marine Stewardship Council regulations. So it is sustainable, but it's very highly looked after around the world because of the MSC regulations that are in place from a global perspective. So, and always as a company, is one of my values personally, and I've put this into the company as well, that we look after the planet while looking after the pets. So the pets are helping look after the planet in an eco-friendly way with everything we do. So sourcing our Hoki oil, we take it from the liver, so that's an offal part of the fish that is generally either used in a very minimalistic way or it's put into byproduct situations. And we're drawing out of the liver at the moment, we're drawing out the real good EPA, DHA levels, they're the parts of the omega-3 which support the immune system and help the animal's body to be able to do what it should be doing. So it gives it the nourishment that it requires to be able to fight diseases and to be able to support the joints to not feel the pain for the arthritis and decrease the amount of inflammation, etc.
So it's an anti-inflammatory agent. Is that kind of the focus of the product?
Effects as well. It also helps with production. You notice with a lot of our animals that go onto our fish oil, the tear production improves and increases. And we've had some cat owners have come back and said they just about took their cats out of dry eye medication, but they couldn't quite do it because the tear production had increased so much, but they'd certainly decreased the amount of medication they were giving their cats. So it's a really good fatty acid. It's an essential fatty acid, and you need to give that to an animal in its diet, especially a mammal, either cats or dogs, monkeys. So they can't just make it within their body. They can't convert anything they get in another format. With this fish oil, they take it in, they digest it, and it can be put to work in the body instantaneously, basically. Sometimes you won't see results until it's built up for 6 or 7 weeks or 12 weeks in some cases.
So can any species take this? Can your product be ingested by cats and monkeys, as you said? And what about people?
Yes, definitely. It's human grade, so everything we do is human grade. There is Hoki oil being used in the human side of the industry as well. So yes, it can be taken by people, certainly. We don't have a way for humans at the moment because my personal focus is around animals. But yes, Hoki oil for humans is awesome. The testing we've done in the lab against New Zealand farm salmon oil, we've come in with the Hoki being a higher EPA and a higher DHA level, and that's happened on a couple of occasions. But, you know, that's not worldwide, and also when you're farming salmon, it depends on what you're feeding the salmon as to the results you're going to get. Obviously, with a wild fish, you're not feeding it, so it's going to eat whatever it wants, and it's going to be able to have a diet of what it requires. So the amount of DHA and EPA and other things within that fish will obviously determined by what's available in the environment. With a farm fish, you can provide what is required, and you can guarantee certain things coming from that fish when it's processed.
Okay, that makes sense. Let me ask you: Do you take one every day?
No, I don't.
Or three, or four?
Format. I don't have the capsule format. I have the liquid format, so I tend to mix it in with orange juice or something that tastes a bit better. No, we don't.
It does taste like fishy. Does it taste fishy?
Very.
I know. It's funny. I bought my daughter some fish oil gummies. You know, she's 4, and for kids, everything is in gummy form, whatever the heck it is. And so I bought her some. My husband and I take fish oil, and I wanted her to take some. So I thought, listen, I can't give her real fish oil because it tastes like fish, but let me give her some gummies. She won't eat them because you know what? Even the gummies with all of the sugar and preservatives and colors and flavors that they try hiding and masking that flavor, they can't. It still tastes like like a fish gummy bear. No one who wants a fish flavored gummy bear. No one. I can tell you, not a 4-year-old. It's funny because it's so potent. It's so potent.
It is, and the dogs love the flavour. They're quite the opposite. They just love the fishy taste. They love the palatable.
You and I both know what dogs really like, right? They eat cat poop. So I'm sure, fish oil is a delicacy because, certainly their palate is very different than yours and mine. All right, listen, on that note, we're going to take a quick break so people can think about dogs eating cat poop because that's quite the visual to go into break. And when we come back, we'll talk more with you and learn more about you and your beautiful life that you've developed for yourself. And I want to talk about some advice you give to people who have come across something that they think would be useful in the pet space and maybe give some advice around how they can approach problem solving. So on that note, Fiona, we'll be right back, everybody, with Fiona.
It's designerpetsweaters.com. Hand-knitted designer sweaters for your precious pup or cool cat. Beautiful couture patterns for your pets, including custom-knitted formal wear, casual wear, yachting, and even sports-themed. Many designer pet sweaters include feathered tammy hats, top hats, and a lot of sparkle. Each sweater includes leg loops, front paw sleeves, and leash opening. Visit designerpetsweaters.com to order your 4-legged fashions today. Your pets will stay warm for the winter and be runway ready. Large or small, we fit them all. designerpetsweaters.com.
Begging to hear more of your favorite show? Full episodes of all our shows are available on demand. Go to PetLifeRadio.com to fetch our entire lineup of Possum Pet podcasts. Also, dig us up in iHeartRadio Talk and iTunes. Let's talk pets. Live and on demand only from Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life
PetLifeRadio.com.
Radio.
We're back from break. It's Jamie McDowell, I'm your host, Pets in Business here on Pet Life Radio Network, and I am here with my beautiful guest, Fiona Robertson. We're talking about, we were talking about dogs eating cat poop before we went to break, but I think we could probably skip past that now and talk more about why we're here today talking, because you are a bold entrepreneur. I really want to talk about, I know we already, had some time where we talked about this trajectory that you've been on from the diagnosis for Rosie, from Rosie's diagnosis, from that point to where you are now. But there are a lot of folks who have great ideas, right? And in fact, I read something this morning. I'm going to read it to you. Hold on here. See if I can find it. I read this book every morning called, this book called Time Warrior, which is a tremendous little book. It's it's 300 pages or so. It's super small. Each passage is a couple of pages at best. And I was reading something. I didn't even think about the fact that here we would be talking about this. This passage was called "Stop All That Thinking," And it's, it's a couple of paragraphs about how people get stuck in their thoughts, and that at the end of the day, people kind of will potentially could suffer from this, what they're calling a sick form of self-hypnosis. And as the book reads, it says, in the end, it can only be my thinking that weighs me down. In fact, the only thing that can ever weigh me down is my own thinking. And then it goes on to say a couple of other things. And then at the end of the passage is, doing, on the other hand, is underrated. Doing is the most underrated thing there ever was. And, so that was I always read something when I get to my desk every morning, just to kind of it's a moment of just reflection and a little, as corny as it sounds, a little meditation point as an entrepreneur. I think that's important to center, as anyone, really. Mm-hmm. But I read that this morning. Here we are talking now, right? Because there's no accidents in life. And here we are talking. And I think that the connection for people between a vision, a passion, an idea, a concept is, how do you get to the doing part? And I know that, between that moment of inspiration and actually execution, there's a lot of fear for most people. Did you have that fear? And what did that look like for you? I'm assuming you had some fear. I'm assuming I think everyone does. What did the fear look like for you, and how much did you have to fight that?
I think the fear is still there, to be honest. It's there every day. I think the easiest bit for me was to go and get the oil for Rosie. That was the easiest bit. And I think the hardest bit now is facing the world without oil and sharing it. I think that's the hardest thing. I think that's the bigger fear, is stepping off the cliff after you've walked up to the cliff. Walking up to the cliff for me is getting the product sorted. And that's the easy bit, stepping it off and then being exposed to the whole world and saying, I've got something here that's great. The fear is, I think, more the fear of rejection. From
judgment.
From the world.
Yeah, fear of judgment. No. Yeah, it's crazy how much that, really, if you think about it, I think as women, too, I think that's a big part for us. I think that plays bigger for women than it does for men. But if you think about how much we allow our fear of other people's judgment to keep us from being the greatest that we can be, to keep us from our complete greatness and standing in our power in the most exquisite way. I feel like the women entrepreneurs that I know, we all have that. And even the most successful amongst us, I feel like it's still there. And here you are with this amazing product that came from this place of complete authenticity, doing something that has a bold and amazing, has a huge impact, that has been validated over and over and over again, both from the medical profession, also from your customers, from your own experience. Yet you talk about, and you're talking right now, that there's still that fear there. So what tools do you use, or do you use any tools to help to mitigate some of that fear? And do you read any books? Do you go to any support groups? Do you write? Do you have someone in your life that you talk to? What are the tools that you can recommend to other people to get past that fear and just go for it?
I've got a small repertoire here in New Zealand. I've got my business partner, who also happens to be my husband. He's quite supportive, and I belong to a couple of industry places here in New Zealand, but I don't tend, because we're rural, I don't tend to integrate with them as often as I should be, because I'm also teaching during the day as well. I tend to use, believe it or not, an American organisation called Women in the Pet Industry, and I joined that about a year ago, and I have been contacting people within that industry. And one of the main reasons I've done that is A, they're women, but also B, they're in the pet industry. In New Zealand, the pet industry is very small, and I can count on one hand the number of women that are involved in the pet industry in New Zealand that are interested from the same angle that I am. And when I found Women in the Pet Industry, I joined this group thinking, I'm not sure how it's going to go. Every person I've spoken to in there has been supportive, has been encouraging. I haven't had one experience with one person in there yet that has done anything different.
Well, in full disclosure, I think we need to have a moment. I think we need to have a moment of full disclosure, Fiona, that I also am a member of Women in the Pet Industry, and I have had the exact. Do you know that? I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
No. I don't take any offense with it at all. I am so glad that we're making this connection right now. I think that Shauna, the founder and CEO of that group, would be delighted to hear this moment, and we'll make sure she does. But that's a great resource, and I'm so glad you brought it up, because We actually had Shauna on as a guest a couple of months ago, and she was fabulous. She was, in fact, one of my favorite guests I've ever had on the show. So let's just you and I together we'll do a collaborative shout out to Whippen, and let's give that website out. As long as we're talking about it, I'll put it in the notes of our podcast as well. But let me grab that. What is that website? Let's see here. Is it Whippen? What is it? Women? What is this?
Petindustry.com, I think.
Okay, womenatpetindustry.com. See, Fiona knows. Oh yeah, you're right. There it is. So there you go, folks. If you're a woman and you're listening to the show, which could be easily 50% of our listening audience right now, womeninthepetindustry.com is a great place to get, like Fiona said, the support from like-minded individuals with a very similar path and some similar attributes overall.
I've also, pushed a few New Zealand women that I'm aware of in New Zealand that are in pet industry. One in particular has been over to the not sure to the conference, but to a couple of events that women in the pet industry have held at some of the trade shows. And yeah, she's got a lot out of it as well. Everybody I've spoken
to. Good to hear that. Well,
yeah,
no, I agree. I think we'll make sure you and I together. We'll make sure that Shauna gets to hear this. Shauna, hi. We're both saying hi to you right now. She deserves it. She's a powerhouse, and she knows what she's doing, and she brought the right people together at the right time. And I think that's great. And I think that
I emailed her and I asked her for a Skype conversation. I said to her, look, I just want to find out what this is all about and if it's open to global. And I think that was when Shauna said, well, yeah, and if you want to come, and sort of threw it back in my court. And it was like, okay, what do I do? So I joined. And it was the best, at that stage, $99 US I'd ever paid. And it was one of the cheapest organisations to join for me personally. The New Zealand organisations are a lot more expensive than that in New Zealand dollars. 5 times is more expensive, and you don't get the support, you don't have the connection, you aren't able to draw on people. If I put something up on the Whippen Facebook page, I will get 2, 3, 4, 5 answers within a matter of time.
No, it's true. It's really true. I've seen that. That is a very active page, and lots of cool people. In fact, we should make a count of how many Whippen members we've had on this show. It's got to be, including you and Shauna and myself. I mean, there's at least a half a dozen folks, and so I'll have to make a count. So I guess the question
from Whippen, my tools is one of the people in Whippen. We've set a time up. We try to meet every week via Skype as an accountability partner, and that is a driving force to keep me on track and keep me going, keep me focused.
Oh, I love that you just brought that up, an accountability partner. That is, I think that for folks that are sole entrepreneurs, they don't have a staff perhaps, or they don't have a business partner, it can be very difficult to maintain that level of motivation and drive, and also just to have someone bounce something, ideas. Am I crazy? Does this sound like a reasonable thing? Ideas come from all over the place when you're in business for yourself, and it's great to have another party that can be a sounding board and to tell you that either you're brilliant or you're crazy or some combination of both. So I love that tool, brilliant tool, finding someone to keep you honest and keep you accountable. I like that for even anything, whether it's working out or eating healthy or whatever. There's just lots of ways that accountability, us as human beings, we need that. We need to, I know I do, to be held accountable. If not, I think I would be in a different place.
I'm exercise, and if it wasn't for my group of women on a Monday night we do Pilates with, I wouldn't do it. And sadly, our Pilates instructor is leaving, which is really sad. So we won't be in the same group, or we won't even be doing Pilates on a Monday night now, which is really sad. But for the last 2 years, it's been the most amazing group, and it's made me do physical exercise.
Oh my God, I love hearing that. I'm so glad that you just shared that. I feel like, listen, it's funny, every time I have conversations with someone on this show, I feel like, even though the show is for everybody, I always feel like I have this selfish thing where I get to hear something that I needed to hear, and just now I needed to hear what you just said. I've been really struggling with trying to find time. In fact, I talked about this on the last episode with my last guest. I've been struggling to find time for myself, and how do I carve that out, and how do I make that a priority? And you're right, it is the accountability thing. You can use that accountability for physical fitness. I want to get to a yoga class once a week, and I just have myself and my calendar to be accountable for. I need to find a yoga buddy. Thank you, Fiona. That was a huge gift you just gave me. I really appreciate that. You're a beautiful person. Let me ask you this as we have to start kind of winding down, unfortunately, because this is such a great conversation. I hate to have to wind things down when they're going so well and you're so lovely. The big question that I always like to ask everybody, I just ask the people who I think are in a place to be able to answer it, which is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I know it's a cheesy question, but it's actually, for someone like you, I feel like it's very meaningful, and I'm very curious to hear what you have to say.
I'd really like to see the company doing a lot better. I'd like to see us, have grown to the point where I'm able to support people financially better than what I am at the moment, so that we've got employees on board and they're getting, a good income. I'd like to be able to be going and meeting people more face to face, because New Zealand's so remote, it's so expensive to travel, so it's really hard to meet people face to face, especially the ones you've helped their animals with from different countries, or, people that you've spoken to, for example, tender whipping conference and things like that. That's what I'd like to be doing regularly in 5 years' time, is going and seeing people and doing all the things that people with closer countries can do quite easily and quite readily. Yeah, so that's what I'd like to be doing, is being out there and being more of a face for Newflands. And we've got a number of products that are in R&D stage or in validation stage, and I'd really like to see those out and being sold and being effective in animals' lives, and having, evidence through testimonial, video testimonial preferably, of those products having the effect we're designing them to have.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. If people want to find you, I'll list all of your data at the bottom of the post page on Pets Mean Business website page. Pets Mean Business website page. On Pet Life Radio's Pets Mean Business page, we'll have all of the details around how people can reach you. And can people order your product online?
Yeah, well, in the USA, it's available on Amazon Prime at the moment. We're still looking for bricks and mortars, but and in New Zealand, we're the same. We do free shipping in New Zealand. I'm pretty sure Amazon Prime do free shipping, but don't quote me on that, because not in the States. We're available in Singapore and Hong Kong as well. And if anybody else anywhere around the world wants to get hold of us, and you're more than welcome. That would be fantastic.
Wonderful. We'll make sure we post all of that, and people, and if anyone has suggestions, they can email me, jamie@petliferadio.com. And again, we'll post everything for the website. Is Newflands, EWFLANDS.co.nz. And again, I'll post Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all that other good stuff. And you know what? We actually have a sample of your product in the office. Because I don't know if you know that. So we have Newfoundland people here. I don't know if you know that either. And so somehow I saw your product come across the desk. It's somewhere. I have to go find it now. I saw it come in, and then I wasn't here. And now I'm back, and now I need to find out where that is. But I know that it's here. I think you sent it to Jennifer.
Yeah, I did send Jennifer some samples, definitely.
Okay, that's what it is. I'm going to have to go hunt all that down and smell it. So I got to smell it. Listen, Fiona, you have been awesome. I've so enjoyed speaking with you. You're just delightful and super authentic, and just, I don't know, you have good energy. You have really good energy that comes across here in this podcast, and certainly I think when you have good energy and you're authentic and you are doing something that is passion-based, you have nothing but success ahead of you. So, and I wish you much of it, and I wish you all the best. And I look forward to getting to know you better through Whippin' and through the other channels of which I'm sure we will connect. So thank you so much for taking time today and spending it here with me on Pets Mean Business on Pet Life Radio Network. And that's it. You're awesome. Thank you so much, Fiona.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I really appreciate being asked. I was so humbled when I got approached by Jennifer and yourself and Melanie. You've got an awesome team there, and just incredibly humbled. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and that is very sweet of you to say. I feel it. I don't know. I appreciate it. I'm sure many colors of red right now. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. And this is a love fest, folks. See how a love fest sounds? Now we all know what a love fest sounds like. And there will be another love fest on our next show coming up shortly in about a week or so. But for now, please enjoy and go back and listen to more of Miss Fiona. And we'll make sure that we'll post all of her info. And that's it. This is the end of our episode today. Thank you all for listening. It's been a pleasure being here with you for the last 45 minutes or so here on Pet Life Radio Network. I'm Jamie McDowell, your host on Pets Mean Business. We'll see you next time.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.